Hello and welcome to another episode of The Change. In this episode, we're going to be looking at mosques in Britain. Do we need more mosques? What do the mosques need to change about themselves? How impactful are our mosques? Are mosques taken over Britain? These and many more questions, hopefully I will explore with none other than Jahangir Mohamed and the co-author of Mosques in Britain 2025. Jahangir, thank you for being here, sir. It's
You're welcome. Good
pleasure to have you. It's lovely to see you after such a long time.
It is.
You haven't changed much at all.
Neither of you.
And we're talking about the change here.
Okay.
So look, you've been involved in the community sector for a very long time. A little bit of background would be good.
So obviously within the Muslim activist circles, I've been around a long time, probably too many years to remember, but and I do this think tank work with the Ayaan Institute. I'm currently director, which we started 4 years ago. But in my sort of current private work for the last 12 years, I sort of advise and have dealt with over 300 mosques and charities.
Okay, wow.
Charity stroke mosques. So I get around, I see a lot of mosques. A lot of charities, represent a lot of them with the Charity Commission.
Okay.
Doing all kinds of work, investigations and, management and a lot. So
brilliant.
I think I'm pretty well versed in the issues of charities and mosques. And this was the second report we did as part of Ayaan. The first one was to do with humanitarian. It's our focus on UK Muslim communities.
Yeah.
So as part of Ayaan's work, we focus on minority communities in majority non-Muslim countries. We've done work on Hindutva in India. We did a report on generally on Muslim communities. And the first sort of report we did on charities was called Aiding the Ummah, which was about humanitarian charities.
Okay.
And again, that was a groundbreaking report. We identified over 1,000 international humanitarian charities, not the ones that just work in the UK.
Yeah.
And looked at their income, their sort of types of work, and we found that those 1,000 charities were, that for the years we looked at, I think it was 21, 22, basically the income was 705 million for those humanitarian charities.
Outside of the UK?
Outside of the UK.
And what brought you to do this?
The money was coming from here, obviously it was spent outside the UK, most of it. So this was the second report, which was focusing on mosques.
So did you say 705 million a year?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, in that particular
year.
But we are doing an update on that, and I can tell you now it's over 1 billion.
Well, I think we need to have another conversation about the charity sector and what's happening there and maybe, what needs to change there. But today, I'd love to speak to you about mosques in Britain. Okay. Now, this seems like, a hot report, 2025. What was the rationale? Why did you guys commission this report or this work, and then why did you come up with this?
So part of our remit within Ayaan is to look at Muslim communities. So our global remit, we have a framework document called Creating a New Civilization of Islam, where we're looking at how Muslim countries can become more unified, independent, prosperous, free of wars and conflicts. But within that framework, we have a focus on Muslim minority communities around the world and how to empower them, how they can be improved, mapping out what their strengths, weaknesses are, or what they managed to create. So this report was needed really because nobody had really done this to look at the scale of mosques. There are lots of figures floated around, like we've got 3,000 mosques, 2,500. Some people say like 3,500.
Yeah.
And if you listen to GB News and the far right, we've actually taken the mosques or overtaken the churches. So there's a lot of that floating around, and I thought it would be interesting to show how much effort people have put into creating an infrastructure in this country into their faith, because the mosques are the visible sign of Islam in Britain, and a lot of our first generations and elders, we have to give them credit for that, focused on mosques to preserve people's religion and faith, and it hadn't really been done before. So I wanted to establish, how many of them are registered charities, for example. I think the previous indications from a Charity Commission report and others was 300.
Yeah.
Which I thought, well, if 300 are registered charities and we've got 3,000, what are the rest?
Yeah.
So we looked at that, and we found that actually there's 1,884 mosques.
Okay.
And of those, after a good 18 months of effort, we were able to establish that 1,179 mosques
were registered
charities.
Now, you said that number, 1,885 mosques. Does this also include, prayer facilities, small prayer rooms, etc.?
No, it doesn't include prayer facilities in workplaces, in universities, because they're not sort of purpose built or sort of mosques, and they might be temporary, they might shift.
Yeah, they're not like permanent.
There was another database that Muslims in Britain had produced, which showed 2,752 mosques, and we had access to that, but a lot of that was we couldn't find them, or there were duplicates, and so they themselves updated that to 1,884. So
that's really great.
Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers. Yeah, you revealed there's 1,885 mosques, and then in terms of value of the assets, something like 1 billion.
Yeah.
Total assets of the mosques, and then in terms of income, we've seen some of the income statements of some of the largest mosques, going up to some 16 million a year for one of the mosques, and then the others hovering around 5 million, 4 million, and then of course there are those who are much less than that, and probably most of them are a lot less than that. What's one thing that this report reveals that most of us don't see?
Well, the thing that was quite shocking for me was, obviously we know that people donate to their mosques.
Yep.
People are very committed. So it wasn't really a surprise that, for 2023, just for the mosques that we looked at, 1,179, because we couldn't get data for the others, that we didn't really know what their structure was. That the income for those was 271 million. So that wasn't surprising. We projected that for all mosques, taken average. So it came up to 451 million, nearly $500 million. So those figures were not really surprising. But what was surprising was, for the mosques that we looked at, there were the workforce, which is trustees, volunteers and employees, was just over 20,000. And we projected that for all of them, and that was over 30,000. But the thing that was shocking was 86% of that workforce was volunteers, i.e. trustees who were volunteers or volunteers. So for the employees, for the 1,179, there were just under, it was over 2,500, I think 2,800, something like that. And that was quite shocking. You've got all these institutions turning over big money. Obviously, some of them are also doing humanitarian work. They have networks. One network might have 40 mosques.
Yeah.
But you've got low numbers of employees, and that doesn't make sense, because you have all this regulatory burden. Yeah, you have mosques being investigated.
Yeah.
You have an environment outside which is hostile.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is run by volunteers, really. How are volunteers going to have the energy and the time to deal with all these issues? And we actually put a value on what we did was worked out an average, which is a low average of each volunteer putting in 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
And basically minimum wage and the total volunteer time. And we know most volunteers actually put in more than that on a Friday.
Of course. Yeah.
So we calculated that as volunteer time value as 55 million.
Only.
Yeah, so, but that was a low estimate.
Okay.
And then obviously the other thing that was surprising was the asset value.
Yeah.
We thought that would be interesting to look at because nobody had done that. We create all these beautiful buildings. And for the mosques that we had data for, the total asset value was 1.29 billion. And if you project that to all mosques, it was well over 1.5 billion and probably more like 2 billion because from the accounts, most people don't update the values.
Yeah.
So I think that figure is low. But again, that was surprising. But it shows the effort that the community's put in investing in buildings.
Yeah.
But not necessarily investing in people.
Services or in people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the discrepancy between what is being spent versus the income from these mosques, and where does the gap? Where does it go? Is it spent locally? Is it invested locally, or is it sent to aid, relief work?
Yeah, some of it will be. So obviously, it's on running costs. So mosques cost money to run, and to clean and all the other things that go with that. So you have a regular weekly budget that's required for that. Sometimes, and many mosques have extensions.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily savings. In fact, compared to the humanitarian sector, I would say we found that 77 mosques on average spend 77% of their budget in a year. So they don't spend 100%. But that's good because they're being very frugal. If they were spending 100% and over 100%, they'd be in debt. So, but sometimes they do have resources, but they're carried forward, usually for running costs, but also for extensions. Okay. So when they're building extensions and things, they collect.
Yeah.
So this is all public donations that may go into future years before they can spend them.
That's really interesting in terms of overall kind of overview of number of mosques, trustee, volunteer, run, mostly. I wonder what challenges mosques are facing. Have you seen have you heard through your research, is there a general trend or a common challenge that most mosques face?
That wouldn't necessarily, apart from the things we picked up in the data, it wouldn't necessarily reflect in that, but I have plenty of experience of that.
Yeah.
So one of the common things that happens is issue is mosques in conflict, trustees fighting, and so I know I get regular calls on a monthly basis from mosques in conflict. I know the Charity Commission get a lot more than me, and sometimes it's an expensive drain on resources. The Charity Commission doesn't normally get involved unless there's a serious financial irregularity, and the parties tend to report each other.
Okay.
But conflict management and resolving it is a drain on the mosques and resources, and it's something we don't seem to. It's very common doesn't have a solution. There are other issues like conflicts of interest, which actually fuel the conflict as well. So that's one big issue. I think increasingly hostile activity is a serious issue, not just from people who have an agenda of hate, but also from media.
Okay.
People who are reporting imams for speeches online.
And in terms
like
of representative bodies for mosques, what do we have out there that are actually acting in the interests of mosques as umbrella organizations or such?
I think we have the MCB, which claims that it represents 300 mosques and organizations. So that's one that I'm aware of. Obviously, there was Minab, but I don't know what they do anymore. It depends on the different denominations.
So it's quite fragmented,
It's quite fragmented. So I guess the Shia community will have their own, the Brelwi community will have their own systems and networks. So it's not sort of that simple, but it's a good question.
Yep.
Excellent question. And what do they do? And then you have Council of Mosques.
Yeah.
One of the things that was surprising was we tried to get a list of mosques in regions.
Yep.
So even in my area, in Greater Manchester, I asked the Council of Mosques, can you give me a list of all the mosques in the region? And they didn't have it.
Okay.
And most of them don't have that. So, even basic things like that. So we're not really doing well on the performance, really.
So you've been around and you've acted as a consultant for a lot of these mosques, and you've been active in the Muslim movement, Islamic movement scene for a very long time. I'm going to ask you a basic question, right? What is a mosque for? And what functions are most mosques actually playing at the moment in their communities?
So I think there's a history in the development of the mosques. Obviously, people from different backgrounds came here, and the focus of the first generation, the elders, was to ensure the survival of the faith and passing on to future generations. Obviously, from Quranic point of view, the mosques are for Allah, but what that entails is a bigger question. So they did that, and to be honest, they've done that well. And then after that came, all the things that go with that, funerals and marriages, services, and the things that people need. So some mosques do those. So they basically, the focus was on places of worship, the ritual aspects of masjids, and trying to fulfill the duty to learn and recite the Quran in Arabic, which they've done well. Most children have done that, and they've done it on a low budget, and they've en masse. They've produced children which we've all benefited from, who can speak, who can read Arabic, read the Quran, recite the Quran, Friday prayers, the daily congregation prayers, Ramadan. So they really have been mainly focused on the ritual aspect of the faith, fulfilling the requirements.
So that's the bare basics, right?
The bare basics.
Opening the mosques for the five prayers.
That's right.
And then for Friday Jum'ah prayers.
Yeah, and most are still doing that, because you have to remember, away from the big mosques where they do a lot more. They do things like adult education, and courses for refugees, food banks. They might do a lot of those things, collecting money and doing humanitarian work.
Is there a templatable model of a mosque, and in terms of what it can do and how it can go about doing it, besides the ritual opening for 5 daily prayers? 'Cause I think we all grew up hearing the mosques are the hub of our communities. That's the heartbeat. That's where social transformation happens. But we don't see that really. We go to the mosques, it's more like a passive building. You go there, you pray, and on Friday you hear a speech, which is the Friday khutbah, and then you leave, and that's really about it.
Yeah. So I think as well as when in the report we say that there's a need to invest in people,
Yeah.
we're not just talking about people who are running the mosques, but really we should be thinking more in this current phase of our history about quality and investment in the worshippers.
Yeah.
What do we invest in them? After madrasa, after people leave school, really most people come on a Friday,
Yeah.
and education is limited to the 20-minute khutbah,
Yeah.
which is not really an education.
No.
Or in Ramadan where they just hear recitation of the Quran,
Yeah.
which is good. The mosques are packed, but most times the mosques are not packed. So there's a lot of spare. What do they do in between?
Yeah. Well, I'm involved in my 2 local mosques in North London, and when I am standing on the pulpit, I can see that majority of the people who attend the mosques are either first generation migrants, like new migrants who are coming over, or earlier migrants who are in the elders of our community. And in terms of, say, 3rd generation, 4th generation, very few at the back of the room. And that worries me. Like, are these mosques actually serving the people who need it the most, probably, and they're going to be the future of this community here?
It's an issue. I think, maybe we are starting to integrate into the wider society and becoming more secular, and the youngsters are, see the mosque as somewhere like the church where you go once a week.
Yeah.
And that's it. And really, we have to question, are we really producing high caliber individuals? I know it's not totally down to the mosques, but Islam is a civilizational force.
Mm-hmm.
What are mosques doing to turn these people into people who belong to a civilization, possess the ethics and values of Islam?
Well, because this is the question.
If more of our people are going to prison for financial crimes, for sexual crimes, for other things, then it's still not bad, but it's increasing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just having a look at 2 of the largest mosques in the UK, and they're also large in terms of both income as well as the number of worshippers who attended. I won't name them specifically, but I looked at crime statistics in the area, divorce rates, marriage rates, and general socioeconomic indicators, unemployment rates, poverty, health, reported health issues. And unfortunately, these areas, one of them has 40% Muslim population. The areas constitutes 40% of the population are Muslims, from a specific ethnic background as well. And it has one of the highest crime rates. It contributes to the prison statistics you're mentioning in a disproportionate way to the rest of the areas around the mosque. You would think that where there is a mosque, there'll be some social transformation, at least of its own adherents, of its own community. Are we seeing that? Are mosques providing that?
I don't think mosques are focused on that. To be honest, mosques are more focused on making sure people can fulfill their religious obligations to pray.
Or just 5 daily prayers, opening and closing doors?
Yeah, so in a way, like churches, just basically centres of worship.
And what's going to happen to the churches is, do you fear, actually, in your heart of hearts, do you think in 20, 30 years' time, our mosques will end up empty like the churches?
They may well do, because there's a cycle, isn't there? I know people say we're the fastest growing religion, and I often say we're the fastest reproducing
Yeah.
religion.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not the fastest growing religion, because at the moment we've got a younger age profile, and so we're growing. But at some point, like all communities, like the Jewish community, like others, that age profile will be more elders, and
Yeah.
they'll start to pass away,
Yeah.
and our population will dip.
Yeah.
And then if people are already not really interested in the mosque, and you have a reduction in population,
Yeah.
then it's quite possible mosques will be not really being sustained.
Financially, they're not sustainable if, like I've seen, I don't know if you've had this experience, there are people on Friday who put their hand into their pocket, put something in the bucket, aren't really, not even the second generation, not even the professional second generation. It's still the first generation and the new migrants.
Mm.
And if the first generation pass away, our elders, how financially viable is it going to be to maintain these 1,885 mosques?
It's a good question, because some of them are huge buildings,
Yeah.
with expensive decor and chandeliers and
maintenance costs.
and then others, which is a big bugbear of mine, are churches. I mean, at least the churches, when they became empty, they had the Muslims to buy them.
Okay.
Perhaps I don't know if mosques have become empty, who's going to buy them? But I think the old churches are very. There's an obsession with buying these buildings. That often are listed as well.
Yeah.
Because there's 10,000 redundant churches. And the Church of England is trying to offload them, and they usually give them to community groups to do stuff, or they're empty and they're just crumbling, and then some Muslim will buy them and take on all the burden of sustainability, which they're not really. So that it's an issue, and I think we really do need to think about, do we really need big, huge, fancy mosques, buildings, or do we need sustainable buildings?
Effective buildings.
That can be, because the community's resources are being drained, so people are putting more in their mosques. If they had more sustainable buildings, they could put less in the mosques and put some elsewhere.
If we did a public survey of any area and asked the question, do you feel that your mosques are adding value into the community? How is it impacting your children and your grandchildren? Do you think people will have something positive to add to that?
I think apart from being there for prayers and madrasa, I think that this is my sort of inclination, impact in the Muslim community. Are people listening to the mosques? Impact in the wider community. We have some that are doing work wider in the community, but we have a lot of mosques that are still not even aware of the world outside the mosque and what's going on.
But aren't they supposed to be the place where we go to learn about how to live a better life, how to be a better human being, how to be connected to God, and by being connected to God, you expect to have a better life? If we're not getting that from the mosques, what are the mosques existing for? Really? I mean, I can't see how...
I think mosques try, to be fair. They do go on about these things, but, we live in a secular society where the power forces outside are a lot more powerful and stronger on the young societal forces, what's happening outside. So maybe there's not enough, but we need to have a different approach to, and we estimated that like 7,500 teachers or imams.
Yeah.
Now, what's the level of training, qualification
How
of
many of them
those?
speak English?
Yeah, and what are they producing?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got that level of teachers, they should be having an impact on the people that they're teaching and producing a different type of person. Obviously, you can't, that's down to the family as well. We shouldn't ignore that. But, the mosque is a centre for ibadah, but also a centre for the community.
Education and transformation of the community.
Transformation, right? But also transformation of society.
Now, if that's how you're saying, like a mosque could be a place where people go and because they benefit from attending the mosque, not just their ritual prayer, but they are getting something from there that's educating them, that's enabling them to live a better life, that's helping them to deal with challenges in life. That sounds really great. Who wouldn't want a mosque like that? And if these mosques exist, and I'm sure some of them do exist out there, then I'm pretty certain their community around them will be really be supporting them if they're really getting that benefit back. The question is, what's getting in the way of all the mosques actually becoming active players within their community? An organization that makes an impact and others feel its presence. Like, oh my God, we've got a new mosque open in our area. Something's going to happen. Things are going to get change here. What's going to change? What kind of impact do we expect? Is it going to, for example, reduce crime rates because more youngsters are going to the mosques and they're listening, they're becoming more God conscious, they're leaving behind a life of criminality and whatever else? Is it going to impact marriage rates? Does the mosque education that it imparts impact young people in getting married and staying married for longer, for example? Does it encourage people to eat healthier, be more responsible for this body? If these are part of the education that a mosque imparts, clearly there's going to be a socioeconomic upliftment in that area, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And, those are all things that we should be looking at. But I guess the obstacles, to answer your question, one we've identified. If everybody's a volunteer,
how's it going to run? Yeah,
they do their voluntary work and go home. They haven't got time and energy to deal with all these other issues. Secondly, if you're not providing the services, youth for the youth services, one of the things I often say is to mosques is that we have, and I know from the mosques I visit, there are more and more divorces. And sometimes marriages are lasting a month or 2 months or 6 months. So that's an issue. There's a lot of marriage problems, but we don't have, mosques don't have female counsellors. They don't have counsellors for men either. So you go to your local imam and your imam is also acting as your counsellor.
Without being trained.
Without being trained. And sometimes you get other issues along with that, as you know.
Yeah.
So we haven't really thought through these issues. But another big obstacle is and we wanted to do this in the research, but we couldn't. We wanted to show the average length of time somebody's been a trustee.
Why is that important?
I think that's important to show if you like, the process of change and passing on and developing the next leaders of the mosques and the next generation. If you go on Companies House, you know when somebody's appointed as a director.
Yeah.
If you go on the Charity Commission website, I have no idea how long someone's been a trustee. So we couldn't do that. It would have been nice. I mean, we know ourselves, and I'm sure most people, that some trustees have been around for 20, 30 years longer.
Look, people my age, I was born here, we grew up here, professionals here, entrepreneurs, businessmen here. We can't get involved in our local mosques because the mosques is managed by a group of trustees and it's closed. It's not open to anybody. If professionals from the local community aren't getting involved in their mosques, how are these mosques really going to develop?
Yeah,
there's a lot of young people and people my age, we're not very young, middle-aged people who have experience in running organizations in the corporate world. we can contribute something in our mosques. But I don't see mosque trustees made up of professionals.
I think some of them are. I mean, the elders had a vision of a professional. It's either a doctor or an accountant.
Okay.
So, I mean, doctors are not particularly great at managing, as the NHS has found out when they tried to make doctors administrators. So I think we have to overcome some of those barriers. But, we do need a transition. I'll tell you, it's a true story, actually. There was a mosque that I was doing some work with, and they had a school as well. And there were 15 trustees, and all of them were over 75.
Crazy.
So we were having dinner, and lovely people, nice. And they said, Brother Jahangir, is there anything you think we should be doing? How can we get more young people involved in the activities? Because we don't seem to get... and I said, well, perhaps you should have some more on your trustee board. And it was like a new commandment had been delivered from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I know some of them I speak to, and they say, look, we're a bit worried because some of these younger people are a bit more liberal. They have strange ideas about Islam. They won't stick to the tradition. They'll introduce other things. Sometimes they're a bit worried about issues to do with women and how they think about that. And so there's lots of obstacles, but some of them are like run by families.
Families, yeah.
And then they pass it on to their son or children.
So how would you, what mechanisms are there, and what statutory obligations do trustee bodies have that enables this renewal and change that you and I are talking about? Because clearly, if trustees are made up of people who are of a different generation, there's going to be a huge generational gap in communication, but also of understanding systems and processes and culture today and how to engage with people. There's that also going to be there. How do we overcome this barrier? What mechanisms are in place for us to bring about changes within mosques?
So I think some mosques are doing that, and more younger people are getting involved, but we have to address some of their fears as well. Another one is that some extreme groups will take over and with the youngsters, and some internet sheikhs will come in, and the mosque will become something different. So I think there needs to be they need to be encouraged to set up youth committees and others that will help in the management, but maybe as a first phase.
Yeah, if the mosques had
so they get
people,
confidence, and people are doing volunteering, and they can then decide on which of those individuals are trustworthy and reliable. So there's that kind of that's what I normally recommend.
So we're not really doing the work to get young people involved in other activities anyway,
because we haven't got the confidence ourselves to address this fear of things going wrong or takeover or reluctance. So
we're kind of stuck then.
We're stuck then until some people die or they pass it to others. But I think younger people need to also, encourage that process when they go to the mosque.
You are informed about Charity Commission and requirements thereof. What are the typical requirements of mosques when it comes to trustee-led mosques, and how they appoint trustees, how people from the community get involved or should get involved? What's the model?
So there is obviously some mosques have articles of association.
Yeah,
they're sort of registered charitable companies.
Yeah,
but that's also a double-edged sword, because if you have annual AGMs, you get the conflict where one party will try to take over by boosting membership. So there has to be a proper process for selecting members. Not just anybody can turn up and
Must they have members?
They don't have to, no.
Okay.
So most don't. Most have, even in their articles, they usually take that clause out and have only the trust. The trustees are the only members, and they can appoint other trustees.
Okay, so trustees only appoint
which safeguards that process. You can put terms in the clause for trusteeship, but my experience is, if I suggest 5 years, they'll say no. If I suggest 10 years, they'll say no. If I suggest 15 years, they'll still say no. So I always do say, look, put a term in.
Otherwise, they're forever trustees.
Yeah, or they're forever trustees. But
and can the public do anything about that if they did want to, for example, bring about change within their mosque, and the mosque is run as a charitable organization, and the mosque has such a clause, or they've taken out these clauses for membership? How do they bring about change?
Well, I think we need to encourage mosques and mosque trustees to be more transparent,
Of course.
and accountable.
Yeah.
But also, there's a very important principle of Islam, which is shura.
Yeah.
Consult the people. So how many mosques actually consult?
If they're not doing that, what mechanisms are there?
The people should be, the younger people, I'm suggesting, should go up to and say, look, maybe have us as a committee to consult on. So there's lots of options, but we're not really good at. One of my great heroes is Umar radiallahu anhu, because he was a great administrator, and that's something that's close to my heart.
Yeah.
We're not really good at as administrators, and finding ways to do things.
Yep.
It's either this way, and you can't. We're not a solution-based community.
But I think we're kind of. I wanted to get a specific answer around if that's something that which is that how do the general members of the public in a mosque contribute to change in the mosque if the mosque trustee, for example, is run by a family and they're unwilling to change? Is there a route? Is there a mechanism, provision in place for them to bring about change?
It's very difficult, but it depends on their governing document and what it says. So if there's a requirement to hold an AGM, then they should be holding an AGM. If there's a membership, people should apply to become members. And if there's not any of those things, people should be demanding more accountability and saying, look, maybe you should take on some younger trustees or have an advisory board.
And if that doesn't work?
If that doesn't work, well, then it's not something I recommend, but that's usually when conflict happens.
Yeah.
And that's expensive. But what most people tend to do, again, is they'll go to the Charity Commission and complain, and they'll make up something, or they'll say that they're not changing, etc. And the Charity Commission will write and ask them, how do you deal with this? So there is an obligation on charities to register charities, to consult their users and to answer their issues and queries, and possibly even address their concerns. So put it in writing and ask them to address it, and at the end of the day, what people tend to do is actually either have a conflict and they rally their supporters, which is not really productive, or they'll go to the Charity Commission. The Charity Commission will write.
Okay. So those are the avenues.
But really, we need to find ways of talking and encouraging people. There have been situations where, for example, a mosque that had been run for 30 years, never registered as a charity by a family. And every time the imam raised an issue, they got rid of that imam.
Yeah.
So
They run it like a family business.
yeah, and they weren't really publishing accounts. Just like a 1-page, 2-page over that time. I was shocked because the Imam actually asked me to advise what he could do. And I said, 30 years. They're not registered as a charity, and they're just producing this simple accounts. And I did go and visit the Imam, give them some advice, and it's quite nice because the Imam actually, we prayed Maghrib, and after Maghrib he made a dua for me and all my children and every family. I thought it was really nice, but whether it solved his problem in the mosque, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, the mosque of the future, if it is to truly embody, what the prophetic mosque was, what kind of governance, accountability, services, inclusivity do you think they would have? How do you envision it? If Jahangir could have an ideal mosque?
The ideal mosque, really, I mean, obviously, the mosque was the first thing that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam built in Medina, and at that time, obviously, he was the leader.
Yeah.
And he consulted the people, and all kinds of activities happened. I mean, are mosques a place of leadership today? Do we, for the community, for the wider society, are we producing leaders?
Well, I mean, Imam is supposed to be a leader. I mean, the title is a leader, but are they leaders or are they just prayer leaders?
And part of leadership is listening to your people and consulting them in the affairs, as the Quran tells you, consult them in the affairs of the moment. And we know that in terms of accountability and transparency, we have the examples of Umar radiallahu anhu, who, when everybody was given a piece of cloth, he was quite a tall man.
Yeah.
So people would ask, he knew people would ask, well, how did you get yours? Did you get more share than anyone else?
Yeah.
And he brought his son out to say, I had my son's share. And then I think there was honey that was not, he didn't have any, he was ill at one time, and he asked for honey. He wanted honey from the Bethel Mal, and he asked permission on the pulpit. So, and then he would secretly go and check on the condition of his people. I mean, do we know what the condition of the people is?
Do our imams know the condition of the people?
So we have to think in bigger terms. We have to think of the threats. We have a far right threat. We have all these, our imams and mosques analysing and preparing the community to be able to
deal with
those threats.
Indeed, there's a lot of stuff to look at, and there's a lot of changes to be had, but today we're coming to the end of this conversation, and we're going to play a little game. We have this game called the Change Ladder game, where I ask you 5 questions, and I score you.
Okay.
4 questions are scored out of 2 each, and then the final question out of 5. And we're going to have a little leadership board of people to see how well they've scored. You ready to play?
Yep.
All right. So it's going to be related to mosques. That's your specialization at the moment. And if you could change one small thing about how mosques are run day to day, what would that be?
Day to day, I think I would ask mosques to be more transparent and open with the worshippers in the mosque.
Okay. Transparent and open to the mosque. Okay, great. And if you could change a rule or policy or common practice about mosque governance in Britain today?
I would ask them to, and I do, add a human rights objective, because they often want to talk about issues to do with human rights, but in their objects they don't have anything apart from advancing the Islamic faith. And a couple of my mosques have done that, but most don't.
I was going to say something about that, but we're in the game, so let's keep it here. What belief or assumption about mosques have you personally changed your mind over the years and maybe after this research?
I think there's a lot of criticism of mosques, and we all want them to change and do things. But I think, seeing how they manage money, there's a lot of accusations flying around. But they do their best, and most accusations are malicious.
Okay.
And I think it's a good thing that it's a negative and a positive. So the fact that they don't want to spend the money of the mosque on lots of employees, on fundraisers and fundraising costs, I think they do it prudently. I think that's a good thing.
Was that a personal position you had that's changed as a result of the work, the research you've done?
Yeah, I thought they would be spending a lot more on things, and I think I understand that a lot better.
Okay.
That most of them do manage. They might not be doing things according to the rule book, but they are managing things quite efficiently and effectively, and there's lots of conflicts and people always accusing mosques of fraud, but I've seen not much evidence of that.
I asked my my nephew, who's 16, this particular question. I'm going to ask you it today, but you've got to go back to your upbringing. What's one thing you wish the mosques of your childhood had done differently?
So I have a slightly different trajectory because my mother was the mosque.
Okay.
In our small town, there was no mosque.
Okay.
So she taught all the kids, including me. And in that small town, she taught Islam with love. And then she encouraged the men who were a bit wayward. I met some elders recently at the wedding, and they were introducing me to their grandchildren. And they said, this is Jahangir, and his mum taught everybody in the town. And she told us to get our act together and build the first mosque in that place. So I think we don't have enough females teaching in mosques, and we don't teach Islam with as much love as we should. There's a harshness.
Okay.
I come across her students, and sometimes I don't recognize them, and they tell me they went to Hajj and prayed for her, and this is like, decades after she's passed away.
Well, you're blessed to have had that experience in your upbringing.
So I just think sometimes maybe we need more sisters doing teaching in the mosque, qualified, and teaching, because they are natural teachers. Mothers are natural teachers in a way, but we do have a very male-dominated sector, both in charities and in the mosques. And that sort of compassion also comes in, and maybe that will impact the way children are when they leave the mosque. I once met an imam in a town, and he taught all these kids, and he says to me, when I get so upset because when these kids see me, I taught them all these years, and when they see me, they cross the road. They don't even want to say salam to me. So I said to him, "Did you used to use the stick to be?" So I think teaching Islam with love and passion. I think we need more sisters doing the teaching.
That's a really interesting one, and I think it's definitely something that's lacking out there. And but I'm on my final question with you, and this is personal. So if you could change one thing about how you personally show up in the mosque space, something most people don't know about you, what would it be?
Sorry, just say.
If there's one thing that you could about you that you can change, in terms of how you show up in a mosque space?
Right.
What would that be?
I think maybe some of the sermons and whatever. So you look for something more sometimes when you're older and a bit wiser, but sometimes it's good. So, my local Eliadith one, I go there and they just bring you back to basics and some of the core issues, and sometimes it's good to have that.
Going back to basics, but how would Jahangir show up differently in the mosque space if you were to see this transformation that you're seeing? Because at the moment you are going to the mosque,
So,
great.
I would probably spend more time in the mosques, because at the moment, I go to mosques, I see trustees, but there's nothing really for me to sort of attract me to a mosque and spend time apart from the prayers. And I'd like to, if there was a service or they were engaged in the community or wanted some kind of advice, or they were engaged in, I'd probably get more involved. I guess most people say that.
That nicely leads us on to looking at what can we do, what could we do if we really wanted to see our mosques change. How are we going to go about doing it? I have in my local mosques, I'm a volunteer there. I just turn up and I do sermons, I run seminars, and then I have people who come and say to me, "Oh, Brother Mustafa, I want to get involved, but nobody allows me in, and these guys are not." I'm like, "Okay, well, so what have you done?" "Oh, I've asked them, and I'm waiting for a response." People don't take initiative. Right? In my congregation, we have people who are, we talked about counselors. They're professional counselors with decades of experience. They're sitting there, they come, they pray, they disappear. There are people who are great in finances, may have been in fundraising, maybe even great public speakers. They can train, people in the masjid or get involved in the education side of it. But they're kind of waiting for something to happen, to be invited to do something. And that's the question was, how would you turn up to make a difference? What we need to do? What could we do?
So obviously I go to lots of mosques. My experience is, you have to find a way of dealing with people. Change, there's two ways of changing. One is, sudden change and, attacking people. But there is subtly encouraging some of the elders to change. So obviously I adopt that process when I meet them. Maybe you should do this. Have you thought about doing that? Why don't you change? And mostly they do listen. So
compassionate change.
So I think there's a respectful way, but because I'm in that position as an advisor, a specialist in the area, they do listen. But generally, I think I found most imams and most mosques to be very respectful, hospitable, courteous, and they just need to be taught how to do things and change.
So instead of complaining, perhaps contribute,
and help them build up their capacity, help them to do things better.
That's what generally we're good at. We're good at finding faults and then moaning and complaining about it, but actually getting involved.
And understanding their issues as well. So I think, and of course, I do interviews like this and I produce reports like this, which, as you can see, is written very sensitively to try and raise issues, to encourage change. I'm not attacking. Somebody actually said, you're very nice to mosques. This was said, I gave a talk in Manchester. I said, well, I'm not going to change. I have a vision. I want people to move towards that. I'm not going to get that if, it's not a management or leadership style that will get you to take things seriously. So this report was written to encourage a discussion, which people are now having, to change things.
Yeah.
I want to hear from them, so I'm ready to go and talk and listen to them. So the next report can be, how we can improve things, how we can work things. So the data report was a stimulus to that. And I think we should adopt. When you're young, we're all angry and fiery, and we want immediate change. And we want revolution. And but when you think about how much effort these people have put in, voluntary time, to produce this network. I mean, I'll share another experience with you. There was this elderly uncle, not very well spoken. He spoke good English.
Yeah.
He built virtually on his own with his friends and family. I was gobsmacked, and he got into some trouble, so I went to advise him. 3 mosques and two independent schools.
Wow.
8, and the charity commission was sitting next to me, and they were saying, "And how much are your assets valued at the moment?" And it was like over 18 million. And I looked at this uncle. I think, this man has put all this effort and produced that, as well as the 2 schools, running according to Ofsted standards, and 3 mosques. I'm looking at him, and he's trying to explain how he did something with the charity commission. He might not have done it in a way. There's nothing wrong, but I'm just looking at him, and then he's revealing how he did this and that, and I just sat there in awe of that effort and that commitment. So we shouldn't dismiss that. So we have to do things in a respectful manner with our, but as you would with your own parents, we need to sort of tell them the world is changing.
Yeah,
the world has changed, and we need to change, and we need to take them on that journey.
Yeah,
and do it in a manner which will encourage them rather than bring the house down.
Well, I'm hopeful that will happen, and these kind of conversations that we're having now also would contribute towards creating these conversations for people to get involved and do something about it. Because I personally am fearful of the trajectory of the mosques where we are at the moment, and unless something happens, unless we get involved, unless we contribute to our mosques, we are likely going to end up with a lot of empty mosques in the future. And I don't think anybody wants that. But that change is not going to happen from somewhere out there, right? It starts from here.
Yeah.
And individually, and we always remind our audience that God says nothing will change. He will not change the condition of the people until they change what is within themselves. So it's you and me and our audience, whoever's listening, we individually need to get involved one way or another, change something about ourselves and how we are currently showing up at our mosques. And maybe that will contribute towards a change.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts, sir? Any final reflections on mosques and change?
No, I think obviously we're all aware of the need for change. We need to sort of adopt an approach, and I think we all need to be involved in that change and encourage it. But we need to do it in a way which will take these mosques and our community forward and prepare them for the challenges. And there's not, again, many of them have been through 20 years of securitization, the Prevent program, extremism. You have to admire their resilience.
Yeah, no doubt.
That they've come through that and, managed to retain a level of independence, but there's a new environment now. The mosques are on the front line.
Yeah.
The target of this new hate movement that's coming from the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is growing, and we saw that in London just the other day.
Yeah.
Making it very clear that Islam and Muslims are the target, and the biggest symbol of Islam is the mosque, and they are going to be targeted.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy time.
So we all need to stand and help the mosques deal with those challenges.
Indeed. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your experience and wisdom. I also thought initially that this is going to be a fiery conversation about how terrible the mosques are, but I'm also in awe of a lot of what has been accomplished, and also present to the immense possibility there is for us to actually get involved and make change. It's not going to be easy, but change has never been easy. Even you and I aren't easy to change our ways, what we're used to, right? But change is possible, and they've done their part. The first generation who came over here, they've done their part. It's up to us now to take the baton and perhaps do our bit.
Yeah, and as you know, people have courses on change management. So, we all, I've been on leadership courses, and I've learnt that in my career in local government, so I adopt that. So it's not just young people turn up and we want change. There's a process, and we have to lead that change and encourage it. Change itself is not very easy.
Indeed. Well, with that, I think we should just conclude and leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming in. And I just want to say that, if mosques reflect the state of our hearts, what do we need to change within ourselves that will see our mosques flourishing and really becoming those centers of light and guidance for ourselves, our next generation, the community we live in, the society, and the country and the world? I'll leave you with that question. And until next time, take good care, stay safe, and like and share this video if you benefited from it. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, thank you for that. It was humbling, actually.